Hi there, all you lovely humans of the internet. It's Raven with another tale of terror from the Raven's Nest for you. Hope you're all doing well. This one, to get to the trigger warnings, contains unaliving, sort of gnarly, gross bits. It is fairly gross and a little bit graphic, so if any of these things kind of sound maybe not your bag of tea, that's totally cool. But if you are interested and you want to stick around, let's go. You will always haunt me, (swamp). This house was a monumental disaster, beautiful with little repairs and a wraparound porch. I thought it had what I always wanted in a house. It radiated life and beckoned with the promise of hope. Just a man and his friend living on the marsh among the stunning sunrises and sundowns. There was never any hope. I was an idiot. I blame this house. That wasn't my fault. It couldn't be my fault. We just had a fight, and all I wanted was to love her. How was I to know that that love would die in the swamp with her? She ran. And I'm sure that it wasn't for me. Why did she leave? It was a swan song for Raven when she ran from our porch out into the watery trails leading to the swamp. She never came back. She wasn't going to. This once lovely swamp had turned into a putrid place. I tried to search amongst the bulrushes, the cold water soaking me as the smell of decaying plants filled my nose. Ultimately, the mud prevented my footsteps, and I was forced to go home with an emptiness in the pit of my stomach. And just so alone. Strangely enough, after that night, I'm coughing up black. I decided to have it checked, but all the tests came back clear or negative. Soon after the police came by to question me, I was cleared of all charges. They had not found Raven. Her body was lost to the muck. I still couldn't rest easily. No cancer, non-smoker, but yet every morning coughing up foul-tasting black. Nothing could cover up the taste. My hands were stained in a dark color, and it came off with a generous portion of soap and water. The dirt came off, but I didn't feel clean, nor did I know where I'd been digging. It seemed like I had been inhaling or eating soil. As if I didn't have enough problems in this now creepy house alone, it creaked and groaned at random times, or at night it sounded like a phantom footsteps in the hallways. Once, I swear I saw them, watery steps, with pond scum on my hall room floor. I attributed the dirt in my mouth to some strange form of sleepwalking. I thought I had the solution until the police picked me up from the wretched marsh. According to the police, I was seen screaming and tossing up soil, seemingly completely mad. If I didn't live alone, I'd have to start tying myself down at night. The problem was only getting worse. The coughing fits longer, more painful, and with even more dirt. Any sane person would go to a doctor or therapist, but there was a feeling that they wouldn't be helpful against all reason. Instead, without explanation, I found myself at an occult store, convinced I could find something to fix it, something to see if I was being haunted as I was beginning to suspect. I ended up purchasing a Ouija board after looking at the oddities found in the shop. They had everything from animal skulls, I should say, jars with nails, those cards that read the future, something called pendulums. It seemed they had everything for these kinds of stores, and it just patchouli oozed from everywhere. It was the most hostile and strangest transaction of my life. A mysterious woman appeared with piercing eyes and aggressive disposition. What have you been doing that you reek of corpses? If you've been digging up graves, I'll report you, she said with a tone full of displeasure. Caught off guard, I hastily replied, What an absurd and ridiculous accusation. I've done no such thing. You smell of death. You smell of nothing but worms and graveyard soil. Pay me and leave, you bad man, she demanded. Before I could say anything else, the very substance she said I smelt of poured from my mouth to the floor, disgusting tasting, and in the vomit, worms! Not just worms, wriggling in the puke appears maggots. Before I had time to comprehend or to apologize, she began to force me out the door. I clung to my board as she shoved. Leave, you horrid man. You brought this on yourself. You did this to yourself. She locked the door behind her as I collected myself confused as I headed towards that accursed home. I have no clue what she had been talking about. That shop owner must have been talking about someone else. How could I smell of death? I don't work with dead bodies. It's this house in this infernal swamp. It just has to be. Disturbing my train of thought, I noticed the lights were on in my home, but I didn't leave them on. Scrambling to the house, and once inside, I would begin to inspect my home, and I thought my heart would stop. Wet footsteps covered in mud and pond scum led to an oil drum, and the door behind me closed abruptly as a gust of wind ripped through the whole house. The air carried a god-awful smell. I thought I would puke from the odor of decay. An eerie voice echoed as it came closer and closer. I couldn't believe it. This ethereal and haunting woman just crawled out of the barrel. I recognized her even with lifeless eyes. No. Raven, what happened to you? I choked in absolute horror. I died in that swamp, and you already knew that. She spat angrily. She was dripping with water, her once beautiful neck surrounded by a ring of bruises. Her once rosy lips were blue, and her wrists were black and bloody. Her inky hair was no longer silky, but tangled and soaked. You blocked me out. You painted a fantasy. Tell me why I was in that swamp, the ghostly figure demanded. I don't know, I cried. You don't know? Admit it, she screamed. You ran away! I exclaimed when a familiar sensation filled my stomach with more intensely than before, and out a torrent of swamp water and worms. It hit me so violently, I hit the wall, sliding down into my own terrifying mess. I puked so hard my ribs and chest hurt so badly as if I was spilling my guts. I heard hellish laughter as she delighted in my torment. Stop, I croaked out between another round of vomiting. Did you stop when I begged you and cried? Did you stop? Did you stop? What do you mean? I managed to scream in return. You killed me and put me in this drum like trash. I was still alive when you sealed it up and dumped the barrel into the swamp. You heard my final screams as it sank, and you just walked away. I was worth so little to you. She coldly and spitefully replied. All I saw before me was malice. I didn't do that. I never do that. I love you, I begged, the words immediately replaced with that foul-tasting water flooding my lungs, and I couldn't breathe. I clawed at the air desperately as the sound of water filled my ears. I was going to drown as my lungs ached. Somehow, she was killing me. You'll make such a pretty fountain, a monument to your own cruelty. I mean, the biggest shame is we only get to kill you once. Well, that was Swamp. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please like, comment, subscribe, share to a friend. I really hope that this was a fun little tale for you all. I had an interesting time writing this one. Thanks Stephen King in part, actually, for a little bit of the inspiration there. And yeah, have a great day, everybody. Bye.